Hi, this is Dr. Cindy Banyai, Democratic candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, Florida 19, and this is Perspective on Lee Pitts Live. This segment, we're going to be focusing on money, our economy, the debt, and the deficit. Let's take a look. If you're like me, you go to work to make money and take care of your family and pay your bills. You expect to rely on our government to work without much thought from you. We expect there to be well-maintained roads, that our favorite foods are in our favorite stores because they were able to get there through well-maintained ports and rails infrastructure. These things happen because of the investment of our government. Congress creates laws and approves the funds for them. The president oversees the administration to implement those laws and spend the funds to provide the goods and services of the government. While that may seem straightforward, there are many ways that financing of our administration works. Let's talk a little bit about the public financing areas that have been in the news, the debt, the deficit, and how our economy really works. What is the federal debt? It is the amount that the U.S. owes other creditors. Ultimately, this is owned by the public but managed to run our government. The U.S. has carried government debt since the American Revolutionary War, since the very inception of our country. Many argue America's personal and economic growth is based on debt and the ability to pay it based on the strength of our economy. We currently, as of October 2021, have $28.8 trillion in debt, a truly huge figure. But what's more important than that large number is the debt to GDP, gross domestic product, ratio. That is what is the true barometer of stability. The record for that ratio was set back in 1943 at 20% above GDP, as the U.S. prepared to enter World War II. As for the 2021 budget, it's a much more manageable 13.4%. The U.S. GDP, which is the total amount of the U.S. economy in 2020, was $20.4 trillion. That's how much money the entire economy is creating in wealth and goods every single year, and it's continuing to grow. We are the largest economy in the world, and we are vitally important to all other economies in the world. Everyone has a vested interest in a stable and productive U.S. economy. What is the debt ceiling? The debt ceiling, or otherwise known as the debt limit, is the total amount of the U.S. government is allowed to borrow to meet existing legal obligations. This means to pay for already agreed upon laws and running in the government. Originally, it was created to make it easier for the administration to pay the government's bills. However, it has become politicized by fiscal conservatives who want to seem like they are balancing the budget and making things work more effectively. But it's actually more reflective of how the Congress has already approved its funding. Currently, our debt limit is $28.4 trillion. Congress just reauthorized the additional $480 billion, which is estimated to last until December 3rd, 2021. So essentially, it will keep us running just a little bit longer, but hasn't done anything about the official debt ceiling. This is kicking the can down the road. Not being able to pay our bills destabilizes the economy and threatens our economic outlook and could result in a lowering of U.S. creditworthiness, essentially how much other people want to invest in our economy. This is what happened in 2011 when, once again, fiscal conservatives took this political football and kicked it around and our credit rating was downgraded, making it less favorable to buy U.S. bonds. This hurts everyday Americans through their ability to pay, through the government's ability to pay for some of these structural supports like Social Security and Medicare. And we are coming up on that again in December 2021. What I want to say here now is that there is no magic day when all of our debt will become due. not some secret day in the future when all $28 trillion is going to be due. It's not like a bill that is coming into you. The entire world has a vested interest to keep this going as a safe and stable investment for their own economy. We know that there's no magic day in the future when this bill will become due, because ultimately it would destabilize the entire world economy. U.S. debt is highly valued with our AAA rating from Moody's and other credit rating agencies. This currently keeps us stable because of our creditworthiness, and people will still want to hold their investments and continue to invest and have a stake in the largest economy in the world. Now let's talk about the deficit. The deficit, or also known as the fiscal deficit or the budget deficit, is when the government spends more money than it brings in taxes. But we don't really have to worry about that, as I'll tell you in a moment. We have a large deficit coming out of 2020 of $2.8 trillion because of the COVID spending and some of the disruptions in our economy. The U.S. has had deficit tracking all the way back to 1900 and earlier, and we didn't have a budget surplus until about 2000 or 2001. But again, this is not that important because of a few things that we know about how our economy really works. In the deficit myth, Stephanie Kelton argues that government budgets are not like household budgets, and that governments do not face budget constraints because they cannot run out of the currency because they issue it. Tax revenues do not fund government expenditures. This means that our economy does not work in a simple input versus output type of way, in the way that you would imagine a simple household budget. But taxes regulate inflation and encourages and discourages certain economic activities and helps to redistribute income and wealth, reducing inequalities. Taxation is only necessary to create demand for currency issued by the government and to make people produce goods and services. Currency helps us have a relational value of our currency. Therefore, the government level of deficit doesn't matter because taxation and the deficit don't have a clear relationship. Government should use fiscal policy instead to control inflation and to work towards full employment in our economy. Let's talk a few moments about money and economy. Again, the U.S. economy does not work like a simple household budget with cash in and cash out. Even though, even in a regular American economy, or regular American household, we are more sophisticated than that because of our credit cards and our mortgages. The U.S. Treasury issues bills, notes, and bonds to finance the deficit. These are then bought by corporations, financial institutions, and governments around the world. This is what finances the debt, and this is what keeps the economy going. This includes currency, bills and coins like the ones you may have in your pocket. In fact, the U.S. Treasury could mint a series of high-value coins to pay the Federal Reserve to pay our debt. Taxation creates demand for currency, and the currency is a way for us to provide the value for the goods and services in our economy. Taxation gives everyone a stake in our economy. In conclusion, we need to let the Fed work. Mint the coin. Manage interest rates to manage inflation to keep our household expenditures low. We need to end the debt ceiling. What started as a way to free the administration financially has become a political football, and it's time to stop the charade. We need to invest in the American economy and what it needs to grow. Don't let the large numbers of the debt and deficit fool you into supporting the idea of austerity or limiting government spending. This hurts the economy and it hurts people. Our budget reflects our values. We need to invest in what matters to everyday American people: healthcare, childcare, and roads. Our overall quality of life depends on it. Thanks so much for being with me here today. I am Dr. Cindy Banyai, Democratic candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, Florida 19, and this has been Perspective on Lee Pitts Live. Now back to Lee Pitts.
I'm Dr. Cindy Banyai, Democratic candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, Florida Congressional District 19. I'm a teacher and small business owner. I'm fighting for the things we need: clean water, good health, and good jobs. I'm here with you and for you. Let's create a Southwest Florida where the sun shines on everyone. Send me to Congress to work for you. Check your voter registration and vote for me, Dr. Cindy Banyai.
I'm Dr. Cindy Banyai, and I approve this message.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.
Hello everybody, this is Lee. I'm so glad that you watched that particular show, and if you enjoyed that show, we got other shows like that. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch Lee Pitts Live on demand anytime, and also hit us up on all our social media platforms. Just type in Lee Pitts Live, and there you go.